In today's episode, once again, we speak to the amazing Spencer Sherman. Spencer is a leading financial advisor, author, and a public speaker, renowned for his mindfulness-based approach to money. As the founder and former CEO of Abacus, a value-driven financial consulting firm managing over $3 billion in assets, Spencer has transformed the lives of his clients and helped them achieve a financial success on their terms. And today we're speaking to Spencer to find out, how do you know when you have enough money? Let's find out. And remember, if you want to upgrade your money mindset, then click on the link in the notes, in the show notes, or in the description below to find out how you can join my free community and access all the free resources there. See you inside the community. Welcome. This is Gull, your money mindset expert. And today, once again, we have the charming Spencer Sherman. Welcome, Spencer.
Thank you, Gull. Wonderful to be here. Excited.
Thank you so much, Spencer. Spencer, thank you so much for Friday Feature. It was such an interesting conversation. And even now, people have heard your intro, but please, in your own words, tell everybody what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I was the founding CEO of a financial services company it has about $3 billion under management. And I do a lot of speaking around the world, around money, and showing how emotional intelligence, how our common sense is really the key to our financial success, so much more so than just the amount of money that we have, and that often we allow our beliefs, our biases about money to get in the way of our wisdom around money, which we all have. And there's evidence that all of us have all this wisdom around money. They've done studies on this, but we think the experts have it all. So much of my work is about empowering each of us to see that we have what it takes to be successful with our finances.
Awesome. So today, Spencer, we're going to be talking about how do you know when you have enough money? This is a very, very loaded question because both, you work with money and I'm a money mindset coach. We both know that, it's very, very easy to calculate how much you would be financially, but emotionally, it's never enough. And we always believe it's never enough. And that's, even those people say, oh, money isn't a driving factor for me. It is. Most people, money is the driving factor that forces them to, get the next big and next thing or whatever else. And they have millions or billions in the bank account and they're still pushing forward. That's just obviously a rare example. So someone like Grant Cardone comes to mind, but even the average person. So how do we know when's enough? So let's do the easy part. How do you know, and how do we calculate when the physical amount of money that we need is enough for us?
Yeah. Well, a lot of us stay in our heads around money and we have all these thoughts about it, but we avoid trying to actually know the reality of money. So I say one of the first things is to, make that list, and you don't have to get this down to the penny, but make a list of what you're spending money on right now, like including, your groceries and your rent, your mortgage, and your massages and everything else that you're getting on a therapy on a monthly basis. Put that down, and maybe you have two columns. Maybe there's a minimalist column and maybe there's a comfortable column. And that will give you some sense of what does it take to keep you going each year. And that amount of money, if we assume for a second in terms of how much do you need to sustain that expense level, is usually in terms of assets, it's something like 20 to 25 times that expense level. So if you have expenses of, let's just use a round number of $100,000 a year, you might need $2 to $2.5 million to generate that $100,000 a year. This is assuming that you have no other income. If you have other income, then you could apply some of that income towards that $100,000. But let's say you have $100,000 of expense, no other income, from earned income, from real estate income, then you're probably going to need something like $2.5 million of assets to generate that income for the rest of your life, and to keep inflating that income along the way. And these are very ballpark figures here that I'm giving. There's some nuance to this, but I'm just giving people sort of a general sense of things. It's not $1 billion. And it's not $0, you know? So it's like sometimes our minds just go to extremes. You know, we're either way low or way high. And it's important to sort of know your numbers, and knowing how much you spend. I'm always fascinated that so few of us have any clue how much we're spending on an annual basis. Most of us underestimate the amount that we're spending. So get to know those
100%.
numbers.
100%.
Get to know those numbers. Yeah.
I do something similar. So I ask people, not based on the current lifestyle, but the lifestyle they want to have.
That's what I call the comfortable lifestyle. Yes.
So that's when, you know, we work out how much money do you think it would cost to live in the house of your dreams. I mean, I'm a big believer of, unless you know how to, you know, speak to an advisor and you know how to deal with putting the houses in a trust or whatever, there's no point in buying houses when you live in. That way, I agree with Grant Cardone. You can pick up yourself and leave, whatever. If you've been a very, very nice accommodation, live in a 5-star accommodation. There's nothing wrong with that. I encourage it, but don't buy it, because the amount of money you waste on fees or whatever. So that's another conversation for another time. But you can live in most fabulous home, rent it or so forth, and have the cook, the cleaner, all the other help that you need to support your lifestyle. Again, that's great. Holidays that you want, the kind of, you know, so everything that you would want to spend money on, calculate it. And I promise you, people, and I get people to do, how much do you think they need a month? How much do they, and the most someone's ever said to me was probably 100,000. That's right. And I think you're overestimating. I don't think you need 100,000, but you know, maybe you'll have a yacht, who knows? But I think that's important. But even then, it's still not it's not billions. It's not even 100 million. It's not. It's very, people want to make 100 and 200, 300 million. I mean, yes, I have those lofty goals, but then I know for my own personal needs, you know, my life is so modest. I don't need money for my personal needs. The money I want to make is for something else, and there's bigger goals for it. And then that's what drives me more than my personal, I think, because my kids are growing up now.
That's so important to know that.
But I know what I need for myself, which is really easy. And that could be, if I don't work now, I'm comfortable where I am for the rest of my life. But that's not a reason why. I have some of the goals. But if you don't even know what you need to have a comfortable life, why do you want to make the 100 million? There has to be a reason for it, right? That's right. Most people don't have a reason.
That's right. That's so important. And it's more likely that you'll get to 100 million if you have really good reasons. For getting there. That's right. So maybe you're going to determine that, you know, to have a comfortable lifestyle, you need, you know, $2 or $3 or $4 or $5 million. But then you want to, you know, you want to do something about climate change, or you want to change, improve the schools in your region or something. And that's going to cost another 20 million or 50 million or 100 million. Now you have some real credible reasons for generating this extra wealth, and there's a drive for it. And you know why you're doing it. You're not just doing it just to create a number in your bank account, because that's abstract. That doesn't really, that's not very nutritious for our souls. But when you know that you're going for something, you know, and there has to be also this recognition, I think, that and there's been many studies about this, that once you get above a certain level of comfort, you don't see increases in comfort and joy and happiness. The income keeps increasing.
Agreed.
Like, one has to really recognize that. Maybe hang out with some really wealthy people and talk to them. And what you're going to find is that when you ask them, how has your happiness changed as you went from $1 million to 100 million? And I guarantee you, they will say that it has not changed at all. In fact, if anything, maybe it's decreased. And that's an important sort of thing to become aware of, that extra money is not necessarily for ourselves, like the going from from first class to a private plane to a private jet to a fancy private jet. That doesn't really do very much for our well-being. No. And it's so important to recognize that because then you're no longer caught in that game. Your life's much fuller. You're in the game maybe to help other people out, to build something in your life, but it's not just about adorning yourself with more and more luxuries that are actually going to weigh you down in some ways. They're going to actually take away from your life at some point. This is general. Now, there might be some exceptions out there, but for the vast majority of us that I'm speaking to, we don't gain much. I mean, the studies, show you that once you get above a certain level, you're happy. Happiness does increase as you go from zero income up to a certain level of 50,000, 100,000. But as you go on to bigger, the happiness, you get diminishing returns. Yeah.
Yeah. And even decreases. I agree. I think the first step is to see what kind of lifestyle you want to live, and
yes, and as you said, to know your numbers.
Know your number. So figure it out. Sit down, work it out, roughly work it out, and then say, for example, you need just for the argument, you need 10,000 or 20,000 or even 100,000 a month. Okay, then work backwards with with the financial plan. Okay, how much money do I need to have in the bank account in order to get to the 100,000? Fair enough.
Yes.
I mean, 100,000 is quite large for most people, but I'm just throwing out because I know one of my clients said to give me 100,000. So based on that, what was good for you, work out what your number is, and then sit with the financial planner, work backwards, say, okay, how much money do I need? That's the physical amount. And most people would max out around about 10 to 20 million. That's it. That's how much they need to live a very, 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 very comfortable lifestyle, right?
Yes.
That's what they need. Now, the question is, how do we know when we have enough spiritually? This goes back to the question.
Yes.
Why do people go after the 100 million, 250 million and beyond? Now, I think I'm the exception to the norm because I have very, very, very lofty goals, but I also I'm very detached from money. And like, I could drive a Ford and I'd be happy. I do like cars, by the way. That's the only thing that I like materialistically. So for me, nice cars and Bentley, whatever is great, but I can easily drive a Ford and just be happy. So the Bentley is not going to increase my happiness. I'm fully aware of it.
Yes.
So therefore, I'm detached. The fact that I want the money, and somebody who's detached is more likely to make the money because I'm not there to get the money for the happiness. I'm there to get the money to create the happiness for others, which will make me happy. So there's a big difference there.
Yes.
So therefore, I know what I'm aiming for. I know what I need for my own personal needs, and I know what I would desire to leave behind as my legacy for my kids. So I know my numbers. But then but then being a money person, it's easy for me to say that I know my numbers. How does someone who's not aware, who doesn't have that awareness, how do they work out the numbers? Especially, how much is enough?
Well, let's say, one thing I just want to comment on is you said about that you're so much about wanting to help others, and the studies show that we get much more happiness from helping others than we do from just benefiting ourselves. So that was a beautiful thing. I just wanted to accent there for everybody. I think that there's an important recognition in doing this work around enough, which I think is like one of the most powerful ideas in our language is this idea enough. It sounds like a boring word, the idea enough. Like,
it's powerful, but it's powerful.
But it's very powerful, because when you're in that place of enoughness, that's when anything is possible. You're no longer this greedy, grasping person. And you can be that way even if you have $100 million. You can still feel poor. You can still feel scarcity, even at 50 million or 100 million, because you run into a billionaire and you say, whoops, I don't have as much as that person does. I can't afford the kind of private jet that person has. So it doesn't stop. And that recognition that enoughness is available to you right in this moment is actually incredibly transformative and liberating. That you don't need to earn extra money. And that recognition will ironically often lead us to earn more money when we don't have to earn more money. It's not coming from compulsion, because it's coming from compulsion, right? Then we're gripped by it and we're no longer in our creative minds. So to answer your question about how do we know that we have enough, I'd say start with what you have today. What if, here's the question I want to ask you is, what if what you have today is already enough? How could you make it be enough? that is a very powerful exercise, because if you can find a way for what you have to be enough in this moment, there, I'm going to challenge you. My guess is you're going to feel some freedom inside in this very moment as we're speaking here. If you can find a way for what you have to be enough, you're no longer dependent on your boss giving you a raise. You're no longer dependent on your company selling for a certain price. You're no longer dependent on the stock market doing really well. That is freedom. That is freedom. And from that place of ease and freedom, you are more likely to make the best decisions given the circumstances that the world presents, which we don't have control over.
Yeah.
You know, so that's my encouragement, is find a way for what you have to be enough. And then along with that, write down, what is it that you're going for in your life? What if you did have a lot more money? What would you do with it? I think that's very powerful to know what you do for this with this money, especially for others. If you had more money, because you have to sort of get to this place where you know that just improving my own material circumstances has its limits of what it's going to give me back. Yeah, it has its limits. You know, it just does for pretty much every human being I've ever met, and that liberates us from that need to make more. And that's a gerbil wheel. You know, we're not going to get anywhere. We're just get caught in that game of needing more and more and more. And we think it's going to end like, oh, when I get to that 50 million, then I'll be free. It just doesn't. And the reason it doesn't is because you've now been training yourself for 10 or 20 or 30 years that more leads to arrival, that more is better. And that training of the mind is not easy to undo if you've been really stuck to that. So the way off of that treadmill is to say, no, what I have is enough. This is enough right now. And I have an intention. I have a big goal. Like you were saying, I have a big goal to have $100 million. But if it doesn't happen, I have enough right now. Yeah. That's what I think is really liberating.
I think that's very, very powerful. I think that's a brilliant way to look upon things. And somewhere along my lines, I think, because where I am at the moment, I'm very, very comfortable. I'm very, very happy. My kids, what I wanted to achieve for my kids is done. But what I'm now looking at is I'm comfortable as I am. And I would go a step bit further. If I go back and regress, so for example, one of my investments doesn't work out, or something the company I'm working with doesn't work out. Actually, I've got multiple companies. If they all, you know, one shop falls or whatever has a knock-on effect on others, that's possible. Who knows? You know, the economy is right? I'm still going to be okay, but I'm going to be okay in the knowledge, the fact that from where I've come, if I can start from sub-zero and come back here, if I need to, I can make money again. So that's the knowledge that I have. That's the confidence that I have. The second step that I have is, so for me, where I am right now, I'm you know, I personally am golden. For my children, I would like to make and leave them a little bit more. But beyond that, and that could be done within the next 5 years easily, no doubt about it. Even my grandchildren, actually, to be perfectly honest. But what really motivates me is because I really have, from a young age, I've wanted to adopt loads of children. So far I've not been able to. I've just had my own 2 kids, but 3 cats. So my future endeavors are now, okay, I may not adopt 1 and 2. I may adopt a whole bunch, like maybe a whole village or something like that. And then my goal is education. So make sure education comes to everyone. And also, being a mindset person, I want to give the mindset techniques and strategies to people so they are open-minded and they can go and create these miracles and magic all around them by being self-empowered. So the money I want is to be able to take it to these different communities and help them to build their homes, schools, and educate. That is my goal. So when I see this, you know, when I see all this sadness on you know, all around us on social media, whatever else, and my heart breaks for these children, I think, you know what, Gull, one day you go and help build the community. One day you're going to go and build those homes, you're going to build those schools, you're going to be part of teaching it. So I can even see myself, you know, that I can be able to make money and I can take myself there and I'll be part of the process where I'm teaching and, you know, building the whole process. When I look at that, it gives me hope, and I sort of, you know, put that phone away and think, okay, one day I'm going to be part of the solution. I can't be, I don't, this is the problem we have, but one day I'm going to be part of the solution. I'm going to create this. I'm going to help this, and I'm going to bridge people together and so forth, because, I believe in tolerance for everyone. That's what motivates me. And I know for a fact, this is what takes me, like today was a very difficult day in my business. I'm coach, but I also have multiple other businesses. And we literally lost funding for one of our lenders. Just a stupid thing happens, as always in business. And we had to figure out what was the issue. We figured it out, but today was a very, very difficult day. But what got me through that day was, as it does always, why am I doing it? I don't have to. I can easily sell the company and be fine and be okay with it. Why am I dealing with it? Because that is going to lead me onto the dream that I just described to you. That dream for me is so much more powerful than me just having a Lamborghini outside my door. That does nothing for me.
Yes, yes. I mean, what you described, I mean, just as I was hearing it, Gull, I just felt this sense of just this this expansion, that the possibility of you attracting all this money is so much more likely because you've got very clear ideas for this money, and they're not just about you. And that's exciting. That's like, it's like everybody's wants to join. I feel like I want to join you in your endeavor. I want to make this happen. It's powerful. You're going for something that's really credible and nutritious and life affirming for many human beings. It's not just small-minded. It's like you've gotten over the idea that more money is going to give you a lot of extra happiness or something, or change your life. No, you're coming from this place of fullness already. And that's the best place to come from. You're just trying to create more power, more beauty in the world, more joy in the world for many, many beings. Yeah. And that's, to me, a very compelling case for attracting more money to you.
I agree. And I think that's exactly how you need to see yourself, that you are a contractor. Because when I think of my life and I think, okay, I'm going to be, so, when I do make the 100 million, 200 million, whatever it is, that will be a starting point. And then I will attract other people like yourself who will bring their wealth and join with me on this mission that I have. So money will keep coming, and we'll carry on growing. So we'll start with 1 and then 2 and then 3, and we just carry on growing this community and going across, across borders and wherever else, and it keep extending. And the fact that it's a vision that I can, but that the money that I want to make would start off the vision that can become a reality, and other people will come and join me. And if I need to, I can always go and make more, because that's it. I made it once, I can make it again. It's not difficult to make. And I don't think money is difficult to make, especially when you have a strong enough why, and especially when you have a reason which is beyond yourself and beyond your means. But in order, I mean, that's just a little tangent, but coming back to this point, in order for us to get there and live for, and create a vision for other people, we have to know what's enough for us, which is coming back to your point, which is what you have today should be enough.
Yeah, find a way for what you have to be enough, because that will bring on your creativity, because we're really smart. I mean, and you can have fun with this. Get together with a friend of yours. You don't have to tell them your exact numbers, but just say, I want to make what I have today enough. And maybe your friend also, has the same idea, and you both share ideas with each other. Oh, wow, maybe I could clean your house, you could clean my house, and we could save on a cleaning service. Maybe, maybe there's all sort of supportive things we can do together to make what we have enough. And that, maybe we could do some, instead of going out to restaurants, we can just do dinners at home together. Those kinds of creative ideas can come from people, collaborating around finding enough with what you have today. And then the possibilities are really limitless, because you're no longer in that narrow, grasping place anymore. You have big ideas, but the big ideas don't need to happen for you, for the small you in yourself. They're happening for something greater, as you've been describing. And it's like, I feel the generosity in the way you're speaking, and that selflessness that tends to bring on a lot more success in our lives. We know this from the sports world, right? Yeah. The person who just tries to do it all themselves, that's not the person that teams want. And it's true in the corporate world. I mean, actually, Google has done so many studies on this. that when you are a team player, when you make everyone win on your team, that's the person that tends to get paid more.
Yeah.
Right? Is that person that's looking out for everybody.
And I'm so glad you said this, because I'm thinking of, so one of my companies is a manufacturing company, and we just gave out Christmas bonuses, and I swear that felt so good. I was able to give money to my, even though we're going through a tough time, and end of year always is for us in the manufacturing sector. But I put money aside from quite a few months, and we're able to have that little bit extra from our normal bank account. But because the money was already allocated, we're able to give the Christmas bonuses without me stressing like where we're going to get the Christmas money, bonus money, because I've already allocated for it. And one of the people that we're going to give a double amount than he should normally receive is purely for the reason, because he's a team player. So not only does he does his work, if someone goes to him and says, like, obviously this engineers, I don't know how to weld this and I don't know how to do this, he would take time out and show them what it is and then still go back and do his work. And he's never not done his work, but he's always there to help everyone around. And everybody says this. When I first bought the company, I asked, okay, who is the most hardworking? Who do you know? And that name came up, I swear it came up so much. Everyone, including the management team, recognized how much effort he put into his team. He's he's an amazing engineer, but he's a very humble guy. And he had no clue that people loved him so much because he's so humble and so down to earth. But his normal behavior was, how can I help you? And and because he was helping everyone, when we recognized, when we were giving stuff, obviously he got a pay rise as well. And we're giving him the bonus, and we give him twice than everybody else because he deserves it. So when you're naturally giving, the universe rewards you back through various means. And I think that was a prime example to show how beautiful it is when you look after other people, then the universe comes to look after you too.
Yeah. No, it's so I mean, I see it in my company also, and I see it in myself, right? That when we get a good night's sleep, when I get a good night's sleep, I'm much more likely to be generous with other people. Like that's my best self coming forward. And that's what even though it's my company that I started, that's what's going to propel my company forward, when I'm in that generative spirit, rather than, oh, it's all about me. I got to get my work done. No one else counts in this company. No, it's this collaborative effort. I mean, so much of today is keeping the right people in place. And the way to keep those right people is create that exciting culture, that exciting, collaborative, joyful culture. And the way you do that is by creating, is by sharing and connecting with other people, right? It's like, it's a different universe today than it was 30 years ago.
Oh, definitely.
People have options today. And you want people to be happy at work.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's coming back to this point of being enough. If you start thinking about your life the way it is and treat it as enough, because most people, we've got this car. Okay, what's the next car? We've got this. What's the next? You got this shoes. What's the next shoes? And I see that in my children as well. At times, they've got the iPhone. They want the next iPhone. They want the next. They want the next thing. It's that constant. Design.
You're creating a brain of next instead of a brain of
enough.
Okay as I am, as I'm enough, I'm okay as I am. That is a very different way to live life. I mean, just try it for today. I just want to challenge everyone. Try it for today. See what it's like to live the rest of today as if you have enough. That you're enough, that you have enough time, you have enough money. You don't need to rush so much. That creates some space in your day, and just keep thinking about your money being enough. Keep thinking about yourself as enough, that you don't need just imagine if everything that you judge about yourself is okay. Just fully accept yourself for the rest of today. Just do it for today. See what happens. I challenge you. I think you're going to have a pretty amazing day today.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to add something to this as well. I think the other factor is adaptability. So I think this is something that I think I've learned, and I don't know how much is available now, and honestly, with the millennials and the new generations. But I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and we adapted. We something didn't work, that it was raining outside, we played board games or whatever else. We adapted so much. So we were happy regardless. I think our
Yes.
generation was just happy being, being with friends,
Yeah.
and we had more patience and so forth. So maybe that's the thing that I grew up with, from the generation where we were just content with whatever we had. We didn't have
Yes.
the next thing or the social media or whatever else. And
Yes.
that's a skill that we picked up and I still have. So wherever I am, I adapt. If my car breaks down or something else happens, I adapt. If I'm not able to travel or whatever else, something can happen. But I think most of the time we think, well, for example, my car broke down the other day, I could easily say, well, I need to get a new car, blah, blah, blah. Yes, it would be great for me to have a brand spanking new car, but what's to say that wouldn't have a problem in it, right? But we blame everything. Or if I had more money, I wouldn't have this problem. If I had more money,
Yes.
I wouldn't have this problem.
Yes.
That's the problem. When
Yes.
we equate everything, well, because of this lack of money, or if I had more money, rather than thinking in every part of our life, we have to adapt, we have to maneuver like water.
That's right.
And that's what we fail to do.
That the need to adapt to start seeing that as a positive thing, as you said, from your childhood, that if you have less, well, maybe this year, instead of going out to buy Christmas gifts, maybe you're gonna write a poem for someone as your Christmas gift.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an incredible gift. I'd love to get a personal poem from somebody, but
Yeah.
that resourcefulness, that creativity, that
Yeah.
resilience sometimes can come from not having so much.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen that with my children. I purposely didn't give them, well, they didn't have much money to begin with, because when I separated from my partner, they went from going to being in private schools to being in state schools, and it was a much different environment. But then obviously my daughter went back. Now, I think compared to when she hadn't had the experience and then going into private school after experiencing state school for a year or two, it gave her a different perspective.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think the adaptability has been
Yes.
at least
That's beautiful.
implanted in her. I don't think it's bloomed
Yes.
fully, but it's at least implanted in her.
Beautiful.
And I think this is what we
Beautiful.
need to do is
Yeah.
teach our children that sometimes mom and dad do not have enough, and not take it as a bad thing. And for ourselves as well,
Yes.
not to feel guilty about it. That's something else. When we think we're not enough because we
Miss,
feel guilty because we don't have gifts for our children.
yeah.
Let's teach our children something else. The money, this other gifts
Necessity is the
apart from
mother of
money.
invention, right?
Yep, yep. On,
Necessity is the mother of invention.
on that note, we're going to wrap this up. So what would be your parting comments about how do you know when you have enough money?
Try the idea that you have enough right now. Just see what happens with that, because everyone says they don't have enough, even billionaires.
Yeah.
Break that paradigm by finding enough with what you have, and see what's possible for yourself. See what's possible, not just with money, but with time. What if you have enough time? What if you have enough friends, or enough house, or enough creativity, or enough intelligence? Try that on and see what happens in your life.
Wonderful. So Spencer, tell us, how can we connect with you? Where can you find you on the internet?
Yes. So I've got this incredible website, spencer-sherman.com. If you put a /free, so spencer-sherman.com/free, you'll get my free resources. I know it's going to be in the show notes. And you can also send me a message through there. I've got programs both for individuals and for professionals. And I'd love to play with you in the sandbox of money. So thank you so much, Gull. It's been amazing to speak with you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for listening to us.
Yeah.
Now, the links that Spencer just mentioned will be in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast. But if you're watching us on YouTube, then down below in the description section, we'll have his links too. So you can easily connect with him. Do connect with him and see how he can help you build a better business. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Spencer. It's been a fascinating conversation. We can carry on talking forever. It's my favorite topic of all world, the money. But thank you so much for being such a generous guest today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to me and Spencer today. I will be back with another amazing guest, finding out how you and I can build a better business. Until the next time, this is Gull signing off. Take care and bye for now.